Well, the first thing that we did, the first mistake that I made myself, was I made an amplifier, again, 50 years ago, almost to the day.
This is Tyson Rabney with the Quality Audio Video award-winning showroom in Centennial, Colorado. We are absolutely honored to have the Grateful Dead sound engineer John Curl in the house tonight for an evening of questions and answers. And in this video, he's going to be talking about how he got his start in making great amplifiers. Enjoy.
Well, the first thing that we did, the first mistake that I made myself, was I made an amplifier, again, 50 years ago, almost to the day. And I was trying to save the world by making solid state and replace tubes. Trying to. Still having a hard time, trust me. And I made this little amp, and I made it really, really stable. But at the same time, I made it really, really slow as far as slew rate was concerned. And that creates TIM. And I didn't know about TIM. So I made this thing, and I A/B tested against equal powered Radio Craftsman 1950s design tube triode amp, and the triode beat me. And I couldn't understand it. I looked at the distortion measurements. They were about the same. I looked at the damping factor. It was about the same between the two units. I looked at the power, rated power. We were, I might be 12 or 15 and he might be 12. I don't know. It doesn't matter. That's trivial. I'm running a clip short. They're 104 dB per watt. So I couldn't understand it. I said, I did everything right. What's wrong here? And then I said, well, I used 40 dB of feedback to get the same linearity as the vacuum tube unit got with 20 dB of feedback. Maybe there's something in that. I don't know. But that's where I got started. And I messed around. I still used that little amp for years, but I did change its characteristics. All I had to do was change a couple of parts to make it like 10 times faster. And that cleaned up the amp a lot. But I didn't know. It didn't measure. The test equipment we had in those days did not measure this stuff at all. It didn't bother with it. And it worked well with the measurement equipment, worked well with tubes, but with a solid state, the new solid state coming in, it didn't work very well. And so that's where it started. And then this guy named Matti Ottila, you may have heard of him. And Matti is this professor and engineer also in Finland. And he wrote a couple of papers. And he started one in about 1970, and he put it in one of the engineering, we call it the IEEE. It's our uptown kind of engineering society. And he put this thing about problems with TIM. And he did a big theoretical thing, and we didn't know anything about it. I mean, he hadn't made any real comparisons. Just theoretically, this should be bad. So I read this paper and said, kind of makes sense. But that still wasn't enough. The next thing that happened to me is I started working for the Grateful Dead, both also in 1970. And they wanted me to make a mixer to replace their vacuum tube mixers that they were already using. They were Ampex vacuum tube mixers. Ampex not only made tape recorders, they also made mixers. Am I moving this? No, you're good. Yeah. Okay. So what happened was they made these... I made this mixer out of the best integrated circuit I could find, the best IC. Remember, this is 1970. It's a long time ago. But the military had some really kind of nice stuff. They had special processes that you had to pay extra for. But by today, they still were pretty competitive. So we made this whole studio board out of these ICs, which measured okay. And we used some really junky coupling caps, which were not okay. And that was one of the equally important things. And so the Grateful Dead took this thing on the road with them. And one day, the recording engineer was tired of the sound or something, and he decided to take it off the AC supply and run it on batteries. but he unfortunately hooked the batteries in backwards. He blew the whole thing up. So they had the backup unit, you know, the vacuum tubes. When the Grateful Dead went back to the vacuum tubes, they said, man, this is better. So I was kind of out of a job, really, at that time. I was carefully let go, you know. So, well. So then I did other things for a year or two. But the thing about it is, I thought about it more and more. What is going on? What am I missing? What can I do to compare to these vacuum tubes? Now, these vacuum tubes were not little Dynakits or something. The vacuum tubes they were using, these mixers, were a single tube running open loop. You know, like the crazy guys, you know, that you see on the hobby deals where they have single-ended triodes that run Class A without feedback. Well, that's the way these mixers were made. And they didn't measure too great, but they didn't measure too bad either. And I said, well, what can I do to approximate that sound with solid state?
As always, I hope you guys are getting great value out of this content that we're sharing with you. I'm Tyson Rabiny. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, all the good stuff. You guys know what to do. And start a conversation with us below. I'd love to hear what you thought about this video and what you'd like to see in any future video series that we're going to be sharing with you. And if you're in the Denver area, be sure to stop by the best showroom in the world. We'll see you next time. Thanks.